Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the OK Listen Here Roundtable. It's been a very, very long time since we have last seen you guys. 2 weeks. I'm your host, Austin Haywood, and back with us today is the good old straight coming back from Mexico. Is the greatest sports mind that I know, Mr. Philip Pilkington in the flesh, the William Byron worshiper. Philip, you're back from Mexico. How hungover are you on a scale of 1 to 10 right now?
Not too bad, solely because when you go to the all inclusive, they have cheap liquor, so you just drink the sugary drinks and you actually get full before you get drunk. So, not too bad. Never really got too hungover, but did have a good time. Glad to be back here and looking forward to my trip to Colorado next week. But I know I'm not as excited about that as you are to make your trip to Nashville Super Speedway.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited to get back to a racetrack this season. It's been since Darlington of last, the fall Darlington race last year. And well, from we'll get into it a little bit later, but Kyle Larson has another good chance at winning this weekend. But hopefully, I get a different winner. I think I've seen Blaney and Larson won last year. And so I'm hoping to see someone a little bit different this year, but we'll get into a little bit of that later. But yeah, so we're back. Took a little 2 week hiatus. So we have got a lot to cover, a lot of news and topics to discuss, two races to recap. Of course, we have tipping your cap and shaking your head, preview for Nashville, the backstretch challenge, and of course, some weekly trivia, which I'm pretty excited to get into with you. I actually prepared this week some trivia questions for you. So and I'm actually pretty damn excited to get to asking you those towards the end of this podcast. So, without further ado, let's get into some weekly news and some topics to discuss. First and foremost, Martin Truex Jr. has announced that he is going to retire from full-time racing after this season. So, with that being said, he's coming back part-time. So, who gives him a ride? I think there's a little bit of speculation saying 23XI, but if you had to speculate, Philip, what's he going to do next year?
Yeah, I mean, full time doesn't necessarily mean full time cup, right? So, he'll probably make some starts for Gibbs in the Xfinity series, and either the 19 or the 20 car. Both those do stay part time, or if one of them stays part time, he'll probably make a start for the one part time car. I would guess, three, four, five starts, something like that. And then, like you said, it's going to be a team that probably already has some sort of relationship with, and a team that has already proven that they will do part time rides here and there. So to answer that, when you put all that together, the best thing is 2311 that meets all those requirements. So I would guess we see him in maybe 10 races next year total max between the top two series. I would guess 10 might even be a little high, probably three or four in the lower or in the upper series, and then maybe closer to five in the Xfinity series. But hey, who knows? It also he's not a father, so he doesn't have as much responsibility as some of the other guys that are retiring. He does have a pretty, I think, serious girlfriend right now, but they're not married, so that could be where who knows if they start planning a wedding, if they do get engaged. So not sure exactly what all's going on in his personal life, but it's not a Kevin Harvick situation where you got two kids.
Yeah, and so just to going over Truex a little bit, back before my Stenhouse days, Truex was my favorite driver, especially whenever he was with Furniture Row and making that run, and just to kind of go over his career a little bit. His first race in the Cup Series is back in 2004 in Atlanta. Since then, he's ran 675 races over 20 years with 34 wins, 288 top tens, and 23 poles. And very obvious first ballot Hall of Famer. And so it's going to suck to see him go, but it's been speculated a lot over the last year or two. And, I think he's still got some gas in the tank, but I can understand at this age, after 20 years of doing it, time to step back, enjoy it a little bit, and reap the benefits of your career. So hate to see him go, but it does look like that we're going to get some new faces here at Joe Gibbs, which is going to be very, very exciting. Accidentally, Christopher Bell spilled the beans on who Martin Truex's replacement is going to be. Chase Briscoe will be driving the number 19 car next season. Obviously, this is great news for Briscoe, but a question that I kind of have is, do you think this is the best option for Joe Gibbs, or is there somebody out there that if you were put in that position, you have an obvious Hall of Famer going out and you want to replace him with somebody? I mean, I personally, I feel like there may be some better options out there, but what's your take on it, Phil?
Yeah, so if you look at free agents coming into this year, there's not really a lot, with the exception of the guys who are obviously losing their job at Haas. Corey Heim's a big Toyota guy. There's been rumors he'll make the jump. There's rumors that he's set for the extra 2311 ride. I've also heard that Riley Herbst could be that, which we'll get into more when we talk about this whole Haas thing here in a second. But look, at the end of the day, you go back to 2020, Chase Briscoe won 9 Xfinity Series races. He is part of a really good class of guys, kind of with him. Tyler Reddick came into the Cup Series around the same time, and Christopher Bell. And, he's been underperforming. He's only got one win. It came 2 years ago at Phoenix. But you kind of wonder with Briscoe, has he been underperforming or has Stewart Haas Racing been underperforming? We know that Stewart Haas Racing has. How much of that's on Briscoe, I don't know. But look, I mean, this guy was a sought after prospect coming out of the Xfinity Series. He was a direct promotion. Stewart Haas knew that's who he was going with. He got to live the dream. He was a avid Tony Stewart fan. His goal was to race for Tony Stewart one day. He's from Indiana, just like Tony, and he got to live that. And unfortunately, it didn't go as well as he thought. But I think he's ready. I really do. Is it the best on to the naked eye? Maybe not, but upside potential I think's there. And if it doesn't work, it's not going to be because he doesn't take care of your equipment, because he keeps the fenders on the car. He does things the right way, and um, Bass Pro Shops is staying on. He's an outdoor guy. He likes hunting. He likes fishing. He grew up doing both. He's pretty strong in his faith, which is something that they're really big on there at Joe Gibbs Racing. Obviously, anytime
Yeah, Ty
if
Gibbs
you've
is
ever
a
met
testament to that.
I know. Well, if you've ever met Coach Gibbs, you know that he's a very good Christian man, and they do a lot of praying and stuff over there at Joe Gibbs Racing, and Briscoe will fit that mold as well. He's been pretty open with his faith, so there's a lot of things both on and off the track that I think this is a good fit, and only time will tell though. But I can tell you, there's a lot of pressure now because you're going to that 19, and
Hmm.
like I said, you did win 9 Xfinity Series races in a single year. Um, you're expected to be ready to go, so
Yeah, and he's got some
it
big
ain't gonna be
shoes
easy.
to fill. He's got some big
He
shoes to
does.
fill as well. And so, I mean, what do you think is his potential here? I mean, is it championship or bust? I mean, I feel like at Joe Gibbs, any driver that comes in, it's got to be championship or bust, especially a young guy like Chase Briscoe. Um, if they keep him around for 4 or 5 years, he's at least got to be in the running for it. So, what's your what do you think his top of the line is? What's his ceiling?
His top of the line is probably, from what we've seen talent wise, you would think, yeah. I mean, he could be a championship level driver. The year he won in 2022, he stole a playoff bid. He was not top 16 in the points. He gets in, and he almost made the round of 8. He finished ninth in the points. So, getting out of the first 2 rounds, or I think he did make the round 8. He finished ninth in the points, but I think if I remember correctly, it's because it does, you drop back down to where you were with everybody else. I think he actually made the round of 8 that year. Now in
Hmm.
2022, now that I think about it, I got to go back and look. So, he's proven he can do it. But yeah, to your point, look, if you're not contending for a championship every year at Joe Gibbs Racing, you're probably not going to be at Joe Gibbs Racing very long. Now, obviously, they'll give him a leeway, his first year, but after that, you need to be pretty much at least a darn near shoe into the round of 8.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be exciting to see someone new in the number 19 car filling in those big shoes of Martin Truex Jr., Bass Pro, like you said, still hanging around. That's a great sponsor to have on board. Um, I think speaking to you about this right now, I do see how this is a great personality fit, and I can see talent wise, making the jump from a Stuart Haas car to a Joe Gibbs car could probably be all the difference for Briscoe, and it possibly has the potential to make a tear in the NASCAR Cup Series. So, moving on, Gene Haas will end up keeping a charter and will operate under the name Haas Haas Factory Team. So, my question, and I'm interested, kind of how I respond to this is going to be dependent on how this question is answered. My sport management background is really itching to know what is going on here, but is this Haas factory team a completely new team from Stuart Haas Racing? And if so, are the Stuart Haas drivers obligated because they're under contract to drive for this factory team? Or is it just a completely separate team from Stuart Haas?
Yeah, I mean, my guess is they're going to sell off 3/4 of the team. and then because of the way the charter system works, and then he will buy out, I guess, the other half of what is left from Tony Stewart. Um, I think due to the rebrand, due to all that, I mean, look, they're probably going to want a full time driver. I don't think anyone is going to be required to drive um, for them. I mean, yeah, I think with the name change and all that, you're technically not under contract. I mean, obviously, that's going more legal stuff. We'd have to know what the contract said. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, Stuart Haas is closing their doors, and there's a new team coming out of it. If anything, it's more like the team that he owned, the part time team from 2002 through 2008, more than it is Stuart Haas Racing. And obviously, no one from that team is still currently driving for him. So, yeah, I think they're gonna go get a full time guy if I had to guess.
So now my question is like, are they gonna? Do you think they would keep somebody that's currently in the Storehouse pool of drivers, or do they make a reach and go grab somebody else? I mean, does I know there's speculation that I think it's Ryan Preece might be jumping down to Wood Brothers, and then of course Josh Berry and Noah Gragson. Who knows where they're going? One of them's probably going to front row, leaving one or the other ones available. And so does Haas keep them, or do they jump ship, go somewhere else, and does Haas pick somebody new up? What do you think happens in this situation?
I think they stick to one of their five remaining drivers. Obviously, they no longer have Chase Briscoe. We know that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They've got two Xfinity Series drivers, and they've got three Cup drivers.
Mm-hmm.
So a
Xfinity
lot of it,
is who? Cole Custer and who else?
Riley Herbst.
Riley Herbst. Gotcha.
Now, I've seen some rumors that Herbst is actually being considered for the 23 11 third team.
Huh.
I thought it was Corey Heim, but I've also seen some Riley Herbst stuff. Don't know which one of those holds more water. I don't have any inside information.
Yeah.
With that being said, the Cole Custer thing also not necessarily he'll go 100% where his dad goes, but his dad's pretty high up there at Haas. I'm sure if they keep him, um, he will stay with the team in one form or another. And then if they don't, my likelihood that he would go. My guess is they probably hold on to Barry or Gregson. Um, Probably Barry. Just if I had to just guess, I don't know why, just gut feeling. Um, because he's a little older than Noah, and well, I guess Noah could more build you for the future, but also if
What
you're
are
going to
they
keep two
building?
Xfinity Series teams, I know. Well, they're going to keep two Xfinity Series teams,
Mm-hmm.
so they've said that they're on full time now. If Herbst and or Custer leaves, then they've got to fill those spots. One of these guys could always drop down and run there. That's your Ford pool of drivers right now is slim pickings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, if the one thing that's heard about Haas lately is they've had to get a lot of their own sponsorship. Um, there is a Ford driver who's not performing very well, but I can guarantee you she brings some sponsorship. So,
mm-hmm.
do you go get her for an Xfinity ride? I don't know. This is kind of weird. This was one of the maybe more blindsiding than the original
Mm-hmm.
team closing their doors. Well, and not as blindsiding as the topic we're going to talk about next, though, with Andy Petrie. But when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to silly season stuff, this was one of the more blindsided things. I'm going to say they probably stick with one of the current drivers just because it's not going to be a sexy destination. Maybe there'll be a rookie who knows he's not going to get a better opportunity, and he comes up and is like, hey, I want to drive there. And he brings some funding. But um, yeah, it's probably Barry or Gregson if I had to
Yeah.
guess. But
So
you don't know.
So here's what we kind of know up to this point. So we know 23XI is getting a charter. We know Front Row's getting a charter. Who's getting that third charter? Who am I missing here? Or do
Spire.
we know yet? Is it Spire?
Yeah, I think so. I think the only one who's officially purchased is Front Row, but I think it's or sorry, I said Spire. I don't know why I said Spire. I meant to say Trackhouse.
Trackhouse? Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, but it sounds like they're going 2311 at Trackhouse. Trackhouse
Okay.
is just going to bring Zane Smith over,
Mm-hmm.
as they're technically, they're just loaning him to Spire anyways. So that's pretty self-explanatory. It's going to leave two charters open at Front Row. Um, Spire's going to fill the spot they're losing with Zane with Michael McDowell. Sounds like they're going to stick to the other two drivers. Well, I don't know why you'd move on from Corey LaJoy or Carson Hocevar anyways.
Yeah.
And so that leaves, one spot at 2311 and probably a spot at the Wood Brothers, considering the Wood Brothers met with Chase Briscoe. Obviously, he took the better of the two opportunities and went to Gibbs. I mean, barring Hendrick Motorsports calling, you're going to Gibbs. So,
Yeah. So now we
yeah.
have Ryan Preece, and we think Josh Berry will stay at. We think he'll stay at Haas, but now Wood Brothers has an open spot, which again, like I said, people are speculating it's going to be Ryan Preece. So now, where does that leave Noah Gragson? Young prospect, probably a hot commodity right now. At least I would think. But where does he go? Because obviously he's not going to Trackhouse. He's not going to Front Row. He's not going to go to 23XI. So where does he go?
I don't know if front row's out of the question. They got two charters. Yeah, they don't have an Xfinity Series team. There's not a lot of Ford
That
Xfinity teams.
I'm I'm sorry. I totally forgot McDowell was leaving and going
Yeah,
to Spot. That totally forgot about
and
that
they've already
fact.
acquired another charter.
Yeah.
So, they have a truck team which they have promoted within from in the past, but Lane Riggs is definitely not ready. Um, yeah, I don't think that the whoever loses the sweepstakes between what we think is probably going to be Barry and Gregson is totally out on the street. I could see probably either one of those guys end up at front row. I mean, who knows? They could go after a hot rookie. They could, offer Corey Heim the bag or something, or, go get, if Corey Heim goes to 2311, go call Riley Herbst or
Mm-hmm.
go call Cole Custer. So, obviously Cole Custer's won a Cup Series race and has been a full time driver and been to the playoffs. So, um, there's a lot of questions. We got more questions than we do answers at this point in the season. That's for sure.
Yeah. So a lot of speculation, a lot of hypotheticals that we could run through, which our audience knows is one of our favorite things to go through is hypotheticals. But for the sake of time, we'll move on to the next topic. Philip, why don't you introduce us to this topic since you wrote this down in our notes?
Yeah. So Andy Petrie is retiring immediately from RCR, and Keith Rodden will take over. I think
And
it's
so
Rodden. Could be
explain
Roden.
to the audience that doesn't know who Petrie is, because I didn't know. Explain it to them like
Yeah.
they have no idea what's going on.
Yes, Andy Petrie was running things at RCR. You know how the owners do. They kind of sign checks and maybe they make some decisions. I think that RC might be a little more hands on some of the other guys, but Andy Petrie, who's been there not consistently since 1993, but became employed first there in 1993. Was the crew chief for Earnhardt for his sixth and seventh championship. Is known when I say when he retires, he did just retire. Will be remembered for his time there. When he goes into the Hall of Fame as a crew chief, he will go in as an RCR crew chief and engineer. And this is a guy who, you could arguably credit for some of Dale Earnhardt's back success and many other guys who've had success at Richard Childress Racing. Kevin Harvick, owe a lot of that to Andy Petrie. So, it's weird. Look, something needed to change, and we can kind of get into this. They're terrible right now.
Yeah.
Somebody had to go. The fact that it's effective immediately tells me one of two things. A, he and RC just came and said, "Look, what's going to change?" And Andy said, "Look, it's got to be me. We got to do something, and this is what's best for the team." Or, and I hope it's the first one. He's not that old, but effective immediately. You hope it's not health related to him, his wife, something crazy. I'm not saying it is, but anytime a guy retires out of the blue and it's not some guy who's just a journeyman guy, it's a well-known, well-respected former broadcaster, former team owner, former championship-winning crew chief, future Hall of Famer. You can't help but just be a little worried. But
Maybe speculate a
he's
little.
out. Yeah, and like I said, Keith Rodden will take over. Keith Rodden is 43 years old. He was Petrie's right hand man, so he was underneath, and he was Dylan's crew chief last year. And after a tough year, finishing 29th in the points, they brought him into more of a corporate role. And I think that was with intent of him eventually taking over for Andy Petrie. So I think the decision was easy as to who was getting the job. I'm sure it was not easy that Andy was retiring or fired or whatever ended up happening, or mutually agreed to retire is probably what it really was. Because I think he still has loyalty there. I'm hoping it didn't end bad. As far as I know, he and RC are very very tight. Um, Keith Rodden got his engineering degree from NC State. He's worked for Hendrick Motorsports. He's worked for Richard Petty. He's worked for Evernham.
Well, that's probably why they
He's crew chief for
suck
Casey
because they have a
Kane.
degree from NC State.
Hey, he's been a crew chief for Casey Kane. He's, like I said, worked for Petty. I don't know if I'd go sucks, but you're right. The RCR has sucked, and yeah, we knew something was going to change at some
Yeah.
point, and the old guy, I guess, got the short end of the stick. So,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
maybe he was going to retire at the end of the year, anyways. I don't know. There had been some speculation that he was,
And
looking to
so
hang him up. I mean,
and so now,
he's set financially.
of course, now we got to hop into some hypotheticals here, but RCR, it seems like It seems like, and Philip, correct me if I'm wrong here, but they're in the worst position that they have been. You know, excuse me, just had dinner, but they are in the worst position right now than they have been in. It seemed a long time, and so if things get any worse than what's going on right now with Rodden taking over, this could potentially be a very fast sinking ship. And I mean, do you see? I mean, I don't know. I feel like RCR is such a synonymous brand with NASCAR that they're not going to go away anytime soon, kind of like the Wood brothers. But at the same time, kind of have to wonder if things start going further downhill, could they be the next Stuart Haas?
I could they? Yes, to everything you just said, could all this happen? Of course it could.
Well, yeah, of course.
The one thing that
Due
gives
to
me
the
hope is
theory of
that,
infinite probability, yes.
yeah. Um,
I guess the better
what gives
question
me
is
hope
what do you
is,
think those odds are?
yeah, I think they're slimmer than some of these other teams. The Xfinity Series team is still performing at a very high level. Jesse Love, Austin Hill. I think it's a matter of getting the right people as car chiefs, as crew chiefs, as competition directors, and then getting the right drivers in there. You have the right drivers in your farm system right now. If Austin Dillon hangs them up, it's not a matter of are we going to find somebody. It's a matter of whether it's Hill or it's Jesse Love. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's
I
you're
mean, that's
good.
the future of the team right there. That's a great
It
future to
is.
have.
It is. And Kyle, does it stink to see Rowdy struggle this much? Sure, but is it maybe a little bit because of age? Is it maybe a little bit because he's not putting as much time into it because he's Brexton's crew chief, car chief, and mechanic? Yeah, there's that too. So, yeah, I think it might just be the perfect storm as to why things have gone wrong. Like you said, this is the worst that Richard Childress Racing has been in since the man whose name is on the team was driving the car, and he decided to hang him up and hand it over to a guy named Dale Earnhardt, who you may or may not have heard of.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's it. You're just gonna have to hand the keys over to the right driver, and pun intended there. And I think that they'll be fine. It's going to be a slowish turnaround. I don't think we're going to blink, and they're going to finish 1-2 this week. But I think it'll be all right. I really do.
Yeah. And so, a question that there were a few times while making the script for this podcast where I thought about discussing this, and I just left it out. But until now, I feel like it's a good time to bring up with Kyle Busch and how he's performing and how just frustrated he seems with this whole season and how it's been going. Obviously, I'm not sitting here thinking he's going to retire at the end of the season. But again, anything is possible. But what do we see his future looking like? Obviously, he is like way into the back nine of his career. But what do you predict the rest of his career looking like? Are we seeing, maybe one more season, or maybe 5 more seasons? What do you predict goes on there? Because I mean, me personally, I think again, I don't think he's going to retire this season, but if next season is anything like how this season is going, I could very easily see him stepping away and kind of maybe even doing like what Martin Truex is doing and just starting to do things part time, maybe just dip back and just do the truck series full time. Who knows?
Well, first off, we have to go off what Kyle's original plan was when he started at RCR, and then branch off from that. So
Mm-hmm.
Brexton is 8. Based off the plan that I have been told, or I've not been told, but seen, he was going to run full-time Cup Series till Brexton was like 14, drop down, run the Truck Series for Spire for a year or two, try to win a championship to be the first driver to win in all three. And then when Brexton turned 16, they were going to split the truck at Spire where he was going to run the big tracks that Brexton wasn't allowed to run. They were going to do that for 2 years while Brexton was 16 and 17. And then when Brexton was 18, he was going to retire full time.
Mm.
So that's a 10-year plan because Brexton is 8.
And how old is Kyle Busch now?
I don't know.
I'll look it up.
Got to look that one up. But to your point, though, he's 39.
Yep.
So to your point, with everything you're saying, he seems a lot more frustrated. Could he drop down and do this Truck Series thing earlier? I wouldn't take that off the table. Could he leave altogether Richard Childress Racing, which technically doesn't have an alliance with Spire anyways, but and try and go see if the grass is greener somewhere else? Maybe, but again, he's 39. Who really is going to take him? Obviously, he's going to bring sponsorship. He's freaking Kyle Busch. Yeah, that's a good point. Wood Brothers, but I think if he does go somewhere else, it would probably be a Chevy type deal, just due to the whole, RC handed Brexton a contract that day and said, you're going to run for me one day, young man. So there was that. And, he's still got the connection with Spire, who he sold his team to. So could he go run at Spire, even though they've got 3 full-time teams, him show up and say, you know what, if I can fund the car with my sponsorship, could I run an open team? And I don't care if it's open money because I'm Kyle Busch and I'm going to go out there and compete. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, that's probably far-fetched, but yeah, I think that there are more possibilities as to how his career changes over the next couple of years than there were 6-8 weeks ago when he was not below the cut line.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. And just, again, more hypotheticals for us to sit there and dream about at night, Philip. So, but we have missed 2 races since, or we've had 2 races since, was there any other news or topics you want to hit on while we're sitting in this segment before we move on?
I mean, I could do 30 more minutes on each topic we've just discussed, and I'm sure you could too. So
I'm sure we'll discuss it in further detail in future episodes. So, so for that reason, we'll move on. We have 2 races to recap here, but Iowa, first race here in Iowa in the Cup Series, and first broadcast of the NBC season. Thank God they are back. Well, that was the first broadcast, right? I'm not mistaken that.
Yes.
Okay. First broadcast of the NBC season. Hallelujah. Thank God. Fox sucks. And only downside to NBC being back is that there's no Dale Earnhardt Jr. this year, and that's just sad boy hours. But it is truly, and especially seeing things online, it is just like a fresh breath of air with NBC now on board with us. And so, I mean, I enjoyed the broadcast for both of the last 2 races. They show a lot of the action. If they feel like there's something else that they want to show or kind of have an agenda to show, they'll split the screen. Here's the action. Here's what we want to show you. Wham, bam, it's all there. I will say the only thing that I do miss from Fox is being able to see how the laps have, where all the yellow caution flags have been, that little graphic that they had up top. I do miss that. But other than that, I do not miss Fox. Good riddance. NBC is back. They're here to stay. Philip, have you enjoyed the broadcast of NBC as of yet? Or have you even gotten to watch them? Because you've been gone.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch. I only got to watch about 80 laps this past week, but did get to watch the Iowa race. To your point, like you said, 2 and sometimes even a triple box was great. My biggest complaint really is I wish, and I think Rick does a heck of a job in the booth, or sorry, not Rick Allen, but he does do a heck of a job. But I think that Steve Letarte does a heck of a job in the booth. I miss the Larry McReynolds where he can go, hey, this is how much throttle this guy has used, and where he's sitting there with the actual S&T data in front of him. I wish they would maybe do more of that with Steve Letarte, and just because it brings a whole nother dimension to the race. But, NBC doesn't have studios in Charlotte, not as easy as it is with Fox. So I missed that. But overall, like you said, just it's night and day different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I personally think Iowa was one of the better races of this season. I don't know if it's because it was actually good racing or if it was because NBC really just showed everything and you felt like you were there at the race. And so I enjoyed it, and props to NBC for just putting on a great show.
Iowa was the best short track race in the
I
Gen
agree.
7 era.
I absolutely agree with
Since
that
the beginning
statement.
of 2022 is the best short track race, and it's not even close.
Yeah, not even close. So I'm very excited to see NASCAR go back there. I think it, after seeing what we saw a few weeks ago, I think it is a huge mistake that it has taken us this long to get there. But holy hell, yeah, it was absolutely a fun race, and I'll be excited to see what they do there moving forward. So, I do want to touch up on my guy, Ricky Stenhouse, who finished in fifth. He's won a few races in some other series at Iowa. I'm not even going to attempt to explain what happened, but just know that there was a lot of hickory trickery that went on in the pit box and with Mike Kelly, the crew chief, to put him in that position. And this is what JC.com had to say about it. So JC.com wrote a little piece on Stenhouse in his day and said, Stenhouse gained crucial ground in the opening stage, placing 22nd. During the second stage, he continued going in the right direction up to the leaderboard and moved up to 13th. Throughout the final stage, Stenhouse was a mainstay in the top 10. On a pit stop following what turned out to be the final caution of the race on lap 261 for Chris Buescher blowing a right front tire, Mike Kelly elected to go after track position. He joined Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano as three drivers who took two tires. In an 84-lap run to the checkered flag, Stenhouse's car never drifted off. He rounded out the top five, scoring his second top five finish in the 2024 season. It marks his first top five in a non-super speedway since the Bristol dirt race last spring. It's his first top five finish on a non-super speedway asphalt track since 2022 at Dover Motor Speedway. So it just, with Stenhouse, it just goes to show how much strategy goes into the racing. Again, I couldn't really keep up with all of what was going on during the race. There's so much going on that I was paying attention to that I kind of missed it right there in the moment. But all I do know is that Mike Kelly pulled a move that put him in a great position to, finish top five of the day. And I will always say, even though he's, running a JTG Doherty team, there is not many crew chiefs out there better than Mike Kelly. He is always coming with some kind of strategy to help put Ricky in a winning position, especially when he gets a good car. So just wanted to highlight that there and have my little bias moment there. So
there you go.
But
you deserve it.
Yeah. So but Ryan Blaney would go on to get his first win of the season, Penske second, and Ford's third win of the season. So I'm glad Blaney won. Obviously, any driver that wins the Coca-Cola 600, I'm rooting for, for many seasons afterwards. But I'm glad to see Blaney get on the board, make his way into playoffs. I think it is it's good for him to be in that position. You don't
want to back up a championship performance with a loss, but your point about Stenhouse, I was happy for him, but again, happy for the racing. Not only was the track racing, it was a multi-groove track. There were differing strategies, and it wasn't where everybody that took the less tires just faded immediately, and that's part of what made it such a great race. And why I can't wait to go back to Iowa next year.
Yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun. And Iowa, actually, looking at it, it's not that far away from me over here in Nashville. So who knows? Maybe I'll make a trip out there next season. So
I was thinking flying to Omaha, go to a couple games of the College World Series, drive to Iowa, go to the race, and then drive back to Omaha and catch some more baseball. But
that sounds like a fantastic idea. A hot idea, but a fantastic idea. Did you see, sidebar, did you see that it was 104 degrees on the Men's College World Series field the other day?
Yeah.
Jeez Louise. That's
the only person I know that was there was luckily in the press box. So.
Golly, that's hot. I'm sure we've played on hotter before with some of that turf that we used to play on.
Worked out on hotter.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But moving on to New Hampshire, we finally got a little bit of wet weather tires that made an appearance. NASCAR stopped the race, and instead of calling it, they actually waited out the rain, and they finished the race. Thank God, hallelujah. But what did you think of these wet weather tires? I know it's kind of our first time really seeing them in action like this, but I personally thought that it was fantastic. Again, I don't know if it's just good racing or if it really is NBC. Maybe it's a mix of both, but I felt like both of these past two races have been fantastic. I enjoyed New Hampshire almost as much as I did Iowa. I mean, it's right under there. So, but what did you think of this, the wet weather tires and the competition there in New Hampshire?
So from what I hear, there was a lot of differing strategy in stage two.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, coming back from Mexico, you can't watch TV on American Airlines flights to get over the continental United States. So I tuned in for the what was supposed to be the last 82 laps, and then I went down to customs with 2 laps to go because there kept being so many damn cautions. I did not actually get to see the last 2 laps of the race because my phone was buffering too bad.
You just missed a
But
Christopher
sounds like
Bell freaking shutout.
Bell kind of ran away. So, yeah, from what I hear, it was good the whole way around. Congratulations to Goodyear. They did a great job with those rain tires. Yeah, they took up some heat once the track got dry, but we know that's how it's gonna be, and it's part of the reason they can't run them yet on the bank tracks. But um, I was impressed with them. I mean, obviously we've had rain tires for what 11, 12 years now, which it doesn't seem that long. But there was that race at Road America, and I want to say 2011. It may have been 2012, the Xfinity race that was pretty much ran in the rain. And we've had plenty of rain Xfinity or rain road course races. Think about Dakota a few years ago, Portland 2 years ago. But to see them in action on an oval, we had seen them in temporary spots. I think we started a Martinsville truck race, I want to say, last year on wet weather tires, and maybe it was an Xfinity race. Don't quote me. It was one of the lower series. It was the spring Martinsville race. They were one of the lower series, and we have seen them here and there. But to come out of a rain delay, finish the race, they were competitive. Obviously, Bell was just better than the rest of the field, but everybody else they were competitive, except for maybe William Byron. It kind of like every time he kept falling back. That was a little frustrating, but he may have had issues getting here. Also, I was on the plane, so um, hey, look, this is great, and this is going to bring a lot less, bad situations to NASCAR.
Yeah, yeah. So it's exciting to see with the wet weather tires being so successful here at New Hampshire. It's exciting to see how they may move forward with that and how they develop, how Goodyear develops those tires. And I do want to kind of go back to the 600 a little bit because I had a little discourse with someone on Twitter here this last week. Because obviously still salty about the 600 being canceled so short and people questioning, with the wet weather, why we couldn't finish the 600 now that we have tires. And of course, you made a great, with the banking, obviously doesn't make sense right now. But, someone made the point like, hey, there's people that live around the speedway and it's loud. You don't want people running at 2 a.m. And to that, I have to say, Phil, I think you and I lived about as close to the speedway as like anyone really could live. And did it ever bother you whenever the summer shootout series was going on or an Xfinity truck series was going on at night and you were young, you were trying to go to sleep? Just to me, I mean, if you sleep with the fan on in your room, first and foremost, it is no more or less noise than a NASCAR race going on a half a mile away from you. It's just white noise.
Yeah,
It's just on
yeah.
and off
So
white
those people
noise.
are idiots.
Yeah.
Those people are idiots with the layout of Charlotte Motor Speedway. There are a few people that live closer than us, but I do
A
know someone
few.
who actually lived right there by it and said they never minded. There were plenty of times, by the way, that I would be staying up late and Goodyear would be out testing tires at crazy hours.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard cars going around at 2 o'clock in the
Oh
morning.
yeah.
It didn't affect me. I have texted people, hey, that were closer and say, did you hear it? Sometimes they would respond, no, I was asleep, so I didn't hear it. And then some of them were like, yes, I was awake. I could hear the ho hum, but again, I fell right asleep during it. So, um, to all those idiots on Twitter, quit reading what people are saying in Nashville. It's not that big of a deal. You can
Mm-hmm.
run races at 2 o'clock in the morning. We walked to Charlotte Motor Speedway as kids. I didn't, but we had plenty of guys where they'd get sick during the race from drinking too much
Yep.
and just walk back to my house after the race. It happened on more than one occasion. It is completely walkable. We know what we're talking about. You can run a race at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway because they're looking at trying to make that like a electric drag strip or some BS like that. First and foremost, I think the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway should be marked as a historical landmark because that's where the good old Darrell Waltrip got his start, his real first little big run there for a while. So that's a historical landmark in my eyes. But yeah, I mean, I the qualifying for the 600, we were up in a suite and I leaned my happy ass back and took a nap and the cars were just going by, every 32.1 seconds. And, I'm telling you, NASCAR cars going around a track, they are not as disrupting as you think they are. They are not going to keep your children up.
No.
If anything, they will lull them to sleep. So if you
Yeah.
think noise is a big issue, you're just a little sissy and you need to get over it. So,
Yeah. Well, and the reason why, and I'm not going to talk about it too much. We talked about it on a previous episode. They didn't do everything they could to dry the track. They didn't ever put heat
yeah,
into it
yeah, there's
anyways. All
that
they brought
too.
out was air titans. No jet dryers. NASCAR screwed up. Quit defending them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but that's a little bit of New Hampshire. Not too much going on here. Corey LaJoie spun out like 5 or 6 times before the track was even wet. That's really all that I had on it. But no real major takeaways from it. Christopher Bell gets his third win of the season and now sits at 6th place in the point standings. So as we head to Nashville, speaking of point standings, Kyle Larson does currently lead the charge. Actually, tied with him is Chase Elliott. This is all the driver standings. Followed is Denny Hamlin, Truex, and Reddick. And then as we go and we look at the bubble a little bit, Truex, Chastain, Bowman, Buscher, and Logano all sit above that playoff cut line, with Bubba Wallace being the first man out with 13 points away, followed by Chase Briscoe at minus 25, and Kyle Busch, despite the season that he's having and despite the last few races that he's had, sitting at 35th. But looking at these standings right now, is there anything that particularly stands out to you? I mean, I think Alex Bowman being there is he's a Hendrick driver, so it is what it is. But
yeah. I mean, you gotta think when he broke his back last year, he was first in the points through like 7
was
or
he?
8 races.
Huh.
Yeah, he had like 2 top 5s, but he was just like he had like all but one race or something was a top 10. He had scored like 3/4 of the stages, so that's yeah. I mean, obviously we could sit here and say, oh, Kyle Busch below the cut line, but we've said that every week. The big thing that stands out to me right now is the fact that this cut line is going to come into effect maybe more than it has in the past. We're through 18 regular season races. We've only had 10 winners. That's less than what we've had at all in the Gen 7 era to this point. Last year we had 12 winners. Now only 11 of those were points paying drivers because Shane Van Gisbergen was one of those, but still you had 11 winners, and then you had guys like Chase Elliott and Kevin Harvick who did not have a win, who people thought, hey, going into this home stretch, those guys could very easily get a win, as well as having another super speedway and one more road course. No, sorry, 2 more regular season road courses left than what we currently. No, it was one because we haven't ran the Chicago Street Race yet. So at this point, we had 2 road courses still to go in the regular season and 1 super speedway. Right now we have, and 2 super speedways. My bad. I'm trying to do it off the dome. Right now we have 1 of each. So you have less of those opportunities for those long shot drivers. And then if you go back to 2022, through this time, we had 13 race winners. So we only had 3 spots left in the playoffs with 8 races to go. So I think the big thing that stands out here is that this bubble is going to be a tight race down to the end. Even if we do get a couple more winners, you're not going to be probably looking at a 16 win or potential for 16 winners this year. So every point's going to matter. You're going to have to score stage points. Maybe you don't go for a race win as much as that would, help you. If you go for the race win and you lose and you really backfires, you could really find yourself in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that's a great point to make. It'd be cool to see how the crew chief's paying that out, and maybe less gambling going on through the ends of these races because you are aiming for those points. But looking at the guys that haven't won yet but are still above that cut line, Bowman, Logano, Gibbs, Buscher, and obviously Truex, like looking below the cut line, other than maybe Kyle Busch, there's no one here that really stands out as like he should be there. But then again, like Kyle Busch is not having a Kyle Busch type season. And so I think this is about like I'd have to go back and look at our predictions at who we thought was going to make the playoffs. But I would say that you and I right now at this point, if playoffs started today, you and I were probably pretty damn close and spot on.
Yeah, I would have 14 of the 16 right. Right now, Kyle Busch, as you mentioned, would
Mm-hmm.
miss the playoffs, and so would Bubba Wallace. I had both those guys in. I did not have Austin Cindric, who is currently stealing a chase spot or a
Mm-hmm.
playoff spot, or Daniel Suarez, who is also currently stealing a playoff spot. Other than that, I'd be I'd be spot on. So, to your point, yeah, it's definitely been, but it's kind of, I don't mean this in a bad way, because maybe it's kind of good because we had been through some craziness over the last few years. It's been a little bit of a vanilla season when it comes to guys winning, but the
Absolutely.
racing's still been good. And
I mean, you
maybe
should have known
not
that
sitting
whenever
here.
William Byron won the first race of the year. You should have known it
Yeah,
was going to be a
and that
vanilla
had a
season.
lot to do with it this year. You didn't have the long shot winning the Daytona 500. So now, but then you went to Atlanta and Suarez won, so that kind of evened that out. Whereas in the past, some of those early Atlanta races
Mm-hmm.
had been won by big name guys, so that kind of flip flopped. But still, because I was thinking the same thing as well. When you start with a guy who won 6 races last year, won the Daytona 500, like, well, he's going to win some anyways. But yeah, it's you still could have a Michael McDowell or somebody jump up and win, especially with a road course still to go. But who knows? The Brickyard's always a little weird. First
Mm-hmm.
time in this car going to the Brickyard, we've seen some different winners there. Paul Menard got his one career win there, so who knows? But I think it's going to be quite the tight bubble going to Darlington for that final regular season race.
Yeah, all Hendrick drivers are in, all JGR drivers are in, and all Penske drivers are in. So talk about vanilla. Were there any of those that missed last year? I think Ty Gibbs
Cindric
missed.
did.
Cindric
Oh,
missed.
Cindric missed. Um,
Did Bowman miss it last
Chase
year?
Elliott missed.
Yeah,
Alex
Chase
Bowman
missed.
missed.
Yeah. And so right now, again, if season ended today, everyone from those three teams would be in. So that's 4, 8, 11 drivers, 11 of the 16 drivers. So, and then of course Trackhouse, they're in it. Brian Keselowski and Chris Buescher, they're still in it. I'm still riding with Chris Buescher. I'm still riding with him. I'm holding out hope.
There you go.
And
Who'd be the one other driver that'd be in? Because you just named 15. Who'd be the one team? Oh, Tyler Reddick
yeah,
would be the
mm-hmm.
the 16th.
Yeah, Reddick, he is so freaking talented. Like when was the last time he won a race? I don't remember. But he is just so
A couple
talented.
weeks ago.
Yeah, it's been a while, but I mean, he just is always in the running. It was Talladega. He won at Talladega, but he is always in the running. Like that dude is just like a short little Irish gremlin that just rips around the track. He's always in a damn rocket, and so like he's fun to watch. I think right now, if I had to do a power rankings of most fun drivers to watch, I think Reddick's on up there for me. And maybe it has something to do with that goofy ass Hamburglar outfit that he put on a few weeks ago. But he's just a fun driver to watch. I know I've said otherwise in previous episodes. I'm not saying consistent on my takes on Tyler Reddick, but he is fun. He's really fun to watch. So, but yeah, so I do want to kind of put myself on the hot seat here. No free ads, but my wife Sydney, she finally got her signed up on DraftKings because I wanted to get a $25 bonus bet, and she ended up getting like 6 of those $25 bonus bets that she was able to use if she deposited $25. And she used one of those to bet on Christopher Bell to win the race. Why Christopher Bell, you may ask? She's from Oklahoma. Christopher Bell's from Norman, Oklahoma. There's the correlation there. Well, she ended up winning $88 from that to go bet on anything else. And this is more money than I have won in my entire gambling career. Now, I I cashed that. I put in $25 to begin with, and I went up real big for a little bit, and I cashed out my $25. So I have not taken a loss whenever it comes to sports gambling. I've been running off of all of my winnings for probably the last year and a half, maybe 2 years now. And I finally, this weekend, I know this isn't NASCAR related, but I finally ran out of betting money because Connor McDavid did not score a point last night. I bet on Connor McDavid to score last night, and he didn't do it. So I'm all out of
Wait,
money.
does he have to have a point or a goal?
A goal.
Okay.
He had to have one goal.
And okay. I was about to say, did he have a point? Did he assist the? I don't know. Anyways,
but he didn't score a goal. That's what I know, and I bet on him to score a goal, and he didn't score a goal, and now I'm at 0. So if you guys would like to Venmo me, hit me up in the DMs. I'll give you my Venmo so that I can continue my unhealthy habit of gambling money that's not mine. But
yeah.
So looking at this point in the season, I know we're starting to wind down here a little bit, but at this point, I'm curious to know who would you have in your Final Four? I know we had this conversation a few weeks ago, but right now, a few things have changed a little bit, but who's your Final Four?
Um, well, of course, Phoenix is the final race. They always say New Hampshire is the best dress rehearsal, and one guy looked above them all at New Hampshire, and he's my preseason pick. I still think he has his breakout year this year. Yeah, he's at 3 wins. I still think he finished 0-5 or 6. I'm going Bell in the Final Four. Elliott's been quiet, but he's up there, man. He scores points every week. He gets stage points. I'm going Elliott, Larson, probably sticking with Tyler Reddick. So 2 Toyotas, 2 Chevys. Sorry, Ford.
Yeah. So I am going to continue to, just for the sake of continuity, I'm going to continue to stick with my Busher take. I think they may put something together come playoffs, may go on a little run. I'm still riding that wave high, but I think the rest of it, if not Busher, this season has been very vanilla. So with that said, you're going to have Kyle Larson in there. I think you're going to have Denny Hamlin in the running, Christopher Bell, and I think William Byron. I think it's going to be JGR versus JGR versus Hendrick once again. So, but somehow, some way, Chris Buescher's going to find his way in there. I don't know how, but he's going to do it.
If we take our own driver's fandom out of this, how cool would it be to watch Truex win another one?
Oh God! At this point in
Drop the mic.
drop the mic like that. Yeah, I would love to see him go out win another championship like this. Where if you had to pick a race for him to win this season to get him into playoffs, what race do you see him winning? Because I think he does decent at Nashville. I mean, I think he may have a relatively decent shot there, but we've got Nashville, Chicago, Pocono, which I think he's decent at. Like you said, Indy, Richmond, Michigan, Daytona, and Darlington.
Well, the race he stands the best chance at would be the one with the worst forecast for Sunday because he's Monday Martin. So whatever race gets postponed would be the real answer. But I'm going to go Richmond. I think he's a good short track racer. Mm-hmm. He's won the Lobster a few times at New Hampshire. Obviously, that's done. But yeah, those he's bad at Martinsville, but there's like anywhere from like 3/4 of a mile to not quite a mile and a half seems to be really in his wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm. So statistically speaking, generally with this many races left in the season, we will probably get 1 or 2 more drivers that win a race this season, punch their ticket into the playoffs. If you had to pick 2 more guys that you think are going to win this year, who are those 2 guys?
Well, Truex for sure.
Yeah.
And then trying to think who doesn't have a win. There's 10 guys with a win. As crazy as it sounds, just because when he's good, even though he's back in the points, but because when he's good, he's like in the top 5 contending. We still have a road course to go. I'm going to go Michael McDowell. It's the hot take, but I'm going to go Truex and McDowell just because, obviously, you got like Alex Bowman and stuff, but like, I mean, I'm just not seeing enough from Rowdy or Joey to get up there and compete for a win.
No.
At least McDowell, when he's up there, he's up there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you are absolutely correct. I do like that hot take. That's a good one right there. For me, I'm high on Ty Gibbs. I don't think he goes 2 seasons back to back without a win. I mean, obviously the talent is there. He's been close a few times this season. He's won a few stages, just hasn't sealed the deal. So I think he's got an opportunity here to get there. And then, I like your pick of Truex. At least make the playoffs in your last season. And he's there on points, but he needs to get a win his last season. It's happened before where he hasn't won a race in a season, but I think he goes out pretty high. So, but
we're running out of time.
Yeah, we really are. So
caps and shake our heads.
Yeah, but before we do that, let me do an ad read. We have Bojangles on board with us. Enjoy the southern charm of Bojangles, where every bite takes you on a journey to the heart of Carolina comfort food. Founded in 1977, Bojangles has been serving up mouth-watering fried chicken, flaky biscuits, and refreshing iced tea with a side of warm smiles for over 45 years. Want to give a huge shout out to the Charlottesville, Winchester, Harrisonburg, and Stanton Bojangles stores for sponsoring the 2024 Bojangles Perfect Week Challenge. Visit oklistenhere.com today for more information. Philip, tipping your cap and shaking your head. Who are you tipping your cap to this week? or his last 2
The
weeks.
combination the combination of NASCAR and Goodyear to get that race in. They worked
Mm-hmm.
together, did a good job on the tires that they've improved on Jurassic over the last few years, and then obviously, um, you know, um, NASCAR for sticking around and sticking the race out.
Yeah, and for me, I'm going to be tipping my cap to Iowa Speedway. I know this is 2 weeks back, but obviously, like you said, it's one of the best short track races that we've seen. Actually, no, and I think this could be a pretty unanimous vote to people that actually watch every single race. But this has been the best short track race in the Gen 7 car, and I like I said before, I can't wait to see the series go back. And then of course actually, who are you shaking your head to first?
I missed 200 laps, so American Airlines. I should go watch TV once I'm on your flight, regardless of what country I'm over. You guys stink.
Nice. That's a great shaking your head. For me, my shaking my head because of how good NBC has been through these first 2 races of the NBC season. I'm shaking my head to Fox just because we see how good it can be. We see NBC putting in the effort to give the fans what they want, taking care of their viewers, giving them an entertaining product on their TV screens on Sundays. And, we see how good we can have it. And we now see how bad we had it with Fox. And so NBC is making Fox look like a damn fool right now. So I'm shaking my head at Fox once again this season.
There
So,
you go.
yep,
One last time. Got to do it one
it got
last
to.
time for old time's sake.
I'll probably mention it 1 or 2 more times before the season is over. So, Philip, as we're heading into Nashville, what do you have on our entry list?
All right, I won't do every highlighted entry just because we're short on time. So starting with the trucks, 39 entries for 36 spots. 3 will go home. In the one, making his second start ever for Tricon Garage will be Brandon Queen, or Butterbean as they call him. He did a phenomenal showing in whatever his first race was, can't remember, but he's kind of the big name, as well as driving the number 7 for Spire Motorsports, everybody's favorite commentator Clint Boyer, and driving the number 22 truck for uh, Rayum Brothers Racing will be Mr. Malcolm himself from Malcolm in the Middle, Frankie Muniz. So always good when Frankie Muniz is getting a start. In the Xfinity Series, 39 entries for 38 spots. So 1 will go home. Ross Chastain will drive in this race. So Noah Gragson, Ty Gibbs, Tyler Reddick, Noah, I already said that, sorry. John Hunter Nemechek, and Carson Quapple. So there's kind of the big ones there. 38 cars for the Cup race. Herbst will be in the 15, the Dinger in the 16, the 50, which will be a 2311 entry, will be Corey Heim, and then Chad Finkham will drive the 66.
Nice. Thank you for that entry list preview, Philip. So, a little bit of statistics for you as we head in. NASCAR has only ran at the Nashville Superspeedway 3 times, with wins coming from Chase Elliott, Ross Chastain, and Kyle Larson. Ross Chastain currently has the best average finishing position at 2.7, followed by Larson at 3.3. Both drivers have finished in the top 5 in the last 3 races, and Elliott only has 2 top 5 finishes. Larson has led the most laps since we have been racing here with 264 led laps, followed by Hamlin at 195 and Truex at 132. This is why I said earlier, Truex might have a decent shot at winning this race here. He's performed well here and clearly has ran and led a lot of laps here. Since I'm going to this race, I'm going to touch up on Stenhouse just a tad, just because I'm a homer, but Stenhouse has done, he's done decent at Nashville with an average starting position of 22.3 and average finishing position at 14.7. He's only had 1 top 10 back in 2021 when he placed in 6th. So hopefully we get that same kind of performance from him this weekend. So before we move on to the Backstretch Challenge, do want to do another ad read for the OK Listen Here premium blogs. Elevate your fan experience with OK Listen Here with the OK Listen Here premium blog for $5 a month. Unlock the gateway to exclusive in-depth analysis of your cherished teams, unfiltered. I really want to hit that point home. Unfiltered and exciting giveaway. Unfiltered opinions and exciting giveaways. Really botching this one here. Don't miss out. Visit oklistenhere.com today to sign up. So, as we move on to the Backstretch Challenge, on a technicality, Philip, you absolutely whooped my ass this week with an average finishing position of 5.5, but because you predicted the winner in Ryan Blaney, it rounds down to a solid 5 average finishing position. Larson obviously went several laps down, which disqualifies him from this competition. You had Byron, Truex, Joey Logano, and Blaney finishing 2nd, 15th, 6th, and 1st, giving you that 5 average finishing position. I had Hamlin, Bell, Elliott, and Reddick, who finished 24th, 4th, 3rd, and 22nd with an average finishing position of 13.25. Philip now leads the series 11, 6, and 1. So I have got an
11, 7, and 1.
11, 7, and oh, sorry, my bad. Have I won 7?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So 11, 7, and 1. So, with that being said, Philip, who?
I'll keep Larson and Byron.
Okay. Larson, Byron, perfect, great picks. And for me, I'm going to stick with... Damn it, I hate you for keeping them too, to be honest. I'm going to keep Hamlin and Elliott. You want to pick first?
It's your choice. Do you want to pick first or back to back because you lost?
I do want to pick first, and I'm going to take Ross Chastain. I want him.
All right.
I want him bad.
All right. Give me Truex.
Okay.
And Reddick.
Great picks. Great picks here. And then, hold on, let me look at my little cheat sheet here that I have pulled up. Oh, who do I want? Damn, you took Truex. That was going to be my guy. Oh, God. Who do I want? I have Hamlin, Elliott, Chastain. You have Reddick. Give me Ty Gibbs. Give me Ty Gibbs. And then, finally... You're really putting me in a pinch here. You know what? Give me Busher. Give me Busher in my garage.
I'll take. Well, nobody has a Ford, so I'll go Blaney. Oh, you have Busher. So I just
I have
Ford,
Busher.
but I'm still going Blaney.
Yeah, well, they're in the garage. All right. So that is the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Now we get into the point where Philip and I do a little bit of weekly trivia. We have 3 trivia questions that we present to each other every single week. And really, this segment is primarily focused on me trying to stump Philip and his extensive sports knowledge. Because if you know Philip personally, you know that he knows literally fucking everything about everything sports. And so I try to stump Philip. Philip stumps me every week. No surprise there. Philip, do you want your question first or do you want to ask the question first?
Since you're so excited to do yours, we're gonna save the best for last. So I'm gonna ask you first because I know you actually did some research and got good ones this week. My first question is gonna be what driver, who I don't have the exact year in front of me, but the year's irrelevant, said that it was such a hard. This was in the Xfinity Series, by the way. Had struggled so much at Nashville that when he won, he smashed the guitar, which is the trophy, and gave a piece of it to each one of his crew members.
Oh, this was an Xfinity driver?
Well, he was an Xfinity driver at the time. It was like early 2010s.
Early 2010s. And give me a better hint, because you know I didn't watch much NASCAR back then. My knowledge does not run that deep.
All right, I mean, okay, I should say, what current Cup driver?
Okay,
who was running the
up.
Xfinity Series back then? Yeah. Oh, I mean, he's what future Hall of Famer?
Okay, that kind of narrows it down. I'm gonna be wrong here, but I'm gonna say Kyle Larson.
No,
Nope.
I think this was a little before Larson made his way up.
Early 2010s.
Like I said, this was like 2010, 2011, something like that. It was pretty.
Okay, broke the guitar, gave a little piece to all of his crew members. Oh, does he drive for one of the big 3 teams, meaning Penske, Hendrick, or Joe Gibbs right now? No,
he does not.
Does not. Okay. It's like a freaking game of 21 questions. All right. So it's not going to be Stenhouse.
Future Hall of Famer.
Future Hall of Famer. Hey, listen here. If there was a Hall of Fame for missing Rex, Stenhouse would be up there.
He would.
Is it Rowdy? It's got to be Rowdy.
Yeah, I thought you were going to get it right when you said Kyle before you said Larson,
Uh-huh.
so it is Rowdy.
Nope. All right. So this one's a bit of a wiffle ball, but it's relevant to the times. But when is the last time a Canadian hockey team won the Stanley Cup? And bonus question: who is the team that won it last from Canada?
1993 Montreal
That
Canadiens.
is correct. Okay. What is your question number 2?
All right. Well, in 2021, Nashville got a super speedway, got its first Cup Series date in many, many years. Where did they take a date from? What other track that we do currently still run that had 2 dates? The owners of that track actually purchased. It's now all owned by SMI,
Uh-huh.
but because SMI bought this company that owned just that other track and Nashville Super Speedway.
Dover.
Dover, good job.
Thank you. Yeah, I know that because I went and applied for whenever I was moving to Nashville, I applied to be in the ticket sales department over there. They didn't offer nearly enough of what I needed to sustain life, but I applied and so I did an interview there. So that they were like, yeah, you'll be selling tickets for both Nashville and Dover. So that's why I know that one.
Yeah.
All right, sticking with the Tennessee theme. This one is a little bit difficult. But how many Duke Blue Devils have been drafted by the Tennessee Titans? Bonus question if you can tell me when these Blue Devils were drafted, and bonus question if you can tell me who it was that was drafted.
Ooh, Duke drafted by Tennessee.
Yeah. So the first question is how many?
Duke only won one football game a year throughout my entire childhood, so nobody was getting drafted. Obviously, there could have been some people back in the day, but if we're not including the Houston Oilers in this, then there probably weren't that many back in the day. It's all current guys. So I don't know. I'm gonna go like 3.
No, that is not correct. And
Anywhere close.
You're close. Yeah, you're close.
5.
No. One more shot.
4.
No. The Tennessee Titans have drafted one Blue Devil. He was a center. This was back in 1970. I don't have the name written right in
That was the Houston Oilers.
Okay, Houston Oilers, whatever, potato. But yeah, so back in 1970, they drafted a center. I don't have his name put up on my notes here, but it was one. I just figured I'd collide the two worlds a little bit for you, so I was excited for that one. Just try to look up something for you. All right, what is your third and final question for me?
Crap, I got to come up with something. Honestly, I came up with the first two on the fly. I keep forgetting to do the weekly trivia every week. Try and go up with something NASCAR related.
Carson Hocevar is the answer.
Carson Hocevar, you got it. Tallest Cup Series current driver, Carson Hocevar.
Carson Hocevar. 6 foot.
All right, we're gonna go with the theme of Nashville.
Okay. Morgan Wallen.
No.
Okay.
When is the last time that Vanderbilt won a College World Series?
Oh, it's been within the last 5 years. I want to say 2019.
I don't think they won that.
I got to be in the ballpark.
Yeah, I think you are. What? Everybody else, time I do college baseball team, it brings up their Wikipedia page, and you can just look at it. And it didn't pull up their Wikipedia page.
I want to say that now with Tennessee winning.
Yep, you're right. 2019. Okay, good job.
Gotcha. Sweet. Yeah. See, my knowledge is it's getting there. Like I'm starting to like pay attention to more things as I dive deep. All right. So this one.
I thought they were going to win it in 21 when they had Rocker and Leiter both, but didn't work out.
Yeah. But okay. This is this one could be a wiffle ball, but I'm just excited to ask it to you just because I want to see how much you know. And there's a few bonus questions to this. So the Boston Celtics won 11 championships from 1957 to 1969. Only 2 other teams won the NBA championship during that stretch. What were the 2 teams that won between 1957 and 1969 that were not the Boston Celtics?
Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I think it's not the Lakers, which is surprising, but I'm
You are
pretty sure
correct.
it's
It's
not
not
the
the
Lakers.
Lakers. Would you like a
Is it the
hint?
Warriors?
No, not the Warriors. Would you like a little deeper
Oh,
hint?
then there's only 10 teams in the league back then. I feel like it
Oh,
should be able to figure it out. So is it the Knicks?
no. The team is still
All right.
around today, but they are not in their original city.
I would have guessed the Warriors off that hint. Let's see. So it's or the Lakers, which neither
Yeah,
one of those.
Minnesota.
So yeah.
I guess.
It's not the
Nope.
Kings, even though they're not in their original city that they were back then. It is not. Is it the Hawks?
It is the Hawks. What city were they in?
St. Louis Hawks.
Yes,
St. Louis
St. Louis
Hawks.
Hawks. Okay. So, bonus question for you, and this I think you'll get great joy out of. Bonus question: how many times did a St. Louis-based NBA team, so the St. Louis Hawks, make it to the finals? And what is St. Louis's record in the NBA Finals? Hint: Boston has played St. Louis in every single finals that they have appeared in.
Wow. Boston and St. Louis like to play each other in finals, don't they? Twice in the Stanley Cup, the Super Bowl, a
It sure
couple
does.
World Series.
It sure does
And
seem like that. A little bit of a rivalry, a little historical rivalry going on there between the two cities.
I think it's, for some reason, my gut is telling me they've met 5 times and Boston's 4-1.
Okay, so you're very close, but Boston is 3-1 against the Hawks.
Okay. Okay.
And then just a fun fact for you there: from the time that Boston started going on their tear in 1957 to the time that it ended, the St. Louis Hawks in 1968, they had been to 4 different championships and moved cities during that time. So, a little fun fact for you.
Wow. So I guess that year, what Philly beat the Lakers in that
I
stint, right?
believe so. Don't quote me on that. I don't have that right in
Because I
front of me.
think that's when Jerry West got the MVP. He was the only person to ever get the MVP from a losing team
Yes.
in '69, and then obviously the Hawks beat the Celtics in '58.
Yes. Yep. That is correct. So
I got a little bonus one for you
okay, go
since you're
for
a
it.
football guy.
Okay, go for it.
So last night,
Okay.
Connor McDavid won the Conn Smythe Trophy.
Yes.
5th time in NHL history, a player from the losing team has been the playoff MVP.
Okay.
It's happened once in the NBA with Jerry West. It has happened once in baseball with some guy from the Yankees in like 1960. Who's the only player from a losing team to win Super Bowl MVP?
This had to have been in our lifetime. In our lifetime, if you're asking.
No, it is not.
No, not in our lifetime.
Okay, you might not know
Yeah,
the player.
I
You might
probably
just
don't.
be able to figure out the team.
From a losing team?
It was a defensive player because they forced 8 turnovers in the game and still lost.
Oh God, yeah. I'm not even going to sit here and try to think about it because I have no idea.
Chuck Howey in Super Bowl 5.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten
That was random. That was tough, but I thought about it because it was like, hey man, last night Conn Smythe, I just brought up the Jerry West thing, so that was my little thing there.
Yeah. So we're going to round out this podcast, have a little bit of housekeeping to just to inform the audience and the fans about. So, we've been slowing down here a little bit, but just want everyone in the audience to know that Mason and Carter, who have been on this podcast a few times and have been writing for me for a few months, they are departing from OK Listen Here, and they are starting their own sports content. They don't really know yet, but they're starting their own sports content page. They had a really good opportunity. They had somebody approach them, wanted to have them start their own thing and start their own page and start writing for them. And so I said, look, absolutely take off, go do it, go do big things. And we'll still be in close contact with them. You'll probably still see them floating around on future episodes, maybe guest writing pieces, some other content. We still have a lot of great things, going in the works a little bit, but just want all of our audience to know that's been keeping up with OK Listen Here in particular. Mason and Carter have stepped away. They're starting their own thing, and we wish them the absolute best of luck with the new Top Shelf Sports. So super excited to see what they do there. I'll have a little bit of a hand in it, just kind of acting as an advisory role to them, but y'all know I have a kid coming, and I had to take a step back from things. So I'm starting to slow down a little bit, but still going to be pumping out some content for you guys. Still going to have a great time doing it. But other than that, if you're still listening to this podcast at this point, we appreciate you for sticking around for the last hour and 15 minutes. It's been a very long 2 weeks since Philip and I have reconvened. But Philip, you're going to be gone next week. Is that correct?
We'll be in Colorado,
Okay.
so
we'll be
might need to have somebody else hop on.
Yeah, so I'll either find someone to fill in for you, or we'll just have another week-long hiatus, which, no big deal to me. We'll take a little vacation, a few vacations here, but we'll catch back up with you guys in a week or two, depending, and we'll see you on the next one.